Hello. Let me welcome all of you on this live session, which is titled as Target UPSC and MPSC Civil Services Examination. Let me clarify right in the beginning that we have organized this webinar keeping in mind one of our very important initiative that we start off every academic year. And this year, we are going to start with our one-year integrated batch from 4th of May 2026. Obviously, for those students who are going to target both UPSC as well as MPSC Civil Services Examination 2027. Okay, now let me welcome all of you. And anyway, I am going to take help of the PPT so that you would be in a better place to understand and make sense of each and every important component of the Civil Services Examination. Okay, now let us get started. Just a brief write-up about Unique Academy. Unique Academy has been working in the domain of guidance and mentoring students who have been preparing for Civil Services Examination, both conducted by UPSC as well as the MPSC. We have been taking up various initiatives, and as I referred to earlier, right in the beginning, one of the very important initiative happens to be the one-year integrated batch that we are going to start off from 4th of May 2026. Besides this one-year integrated batch, we have very important other initiatives such as IAS Foundation course for those who have got through 10th and 12th, and then 3 years integrated batch for those who have admitted themselves in the graduation and want to pursue civil services, that is the preparation for civil services examination right immediately after their 12th examination, that is while pursuing their graduation. So 1 year integrated batch, the very important first initiative, then the IAS Foundation course, and then the 3 years integrated batch. Now as far as the 1 year integrated batch is concerned, it consists of so many important elements and components. I'll speak about each one of them at the end of the session. Okay, now let us get started. Since the title of today's webinar is targeting UPSC MPSC 2027, for which we are going to start our preparation from this month of May, initially it becomes essential to understand, though briefly, the civil services, that is what is meant by civil services, then what is the role of the civil services, what is the significance of the civil services, and then comes in picture the UPSC, that is the Union Public Service Commission. We'll just briefly talk about UPSC, and then straightway we'll slip into a very important part of today's discussion, that is the Civil Services Examination, which is known as UPSC MPSC CSE, that is the Civil Services Examination. And once we get to know about the various phases and stages of Civil Services Examination, we'll look into the subsequent important component of today's discussion, that is how one is supposed to approach this examination, that is how exactly we are supposed to prepare for this examination. Okay, and last but not the least, the unique way, that is what do we as an institution offer as part of the one-year integrated course. Okay, now what is civil services? Just a brief explanation of the same. Civil services is an integral part of Indian administration or Indian bureaucracy. And Indian administration or bureaucracy, that is the public administration, Indian public administration, Indian public bureaucracy, includes, being a vast mechanism or machinery, includes, look at that, the military services, then the diplomatic services, judicial services, and the civil services. So all these services are part of a big machinery called as Indian bureaucracy or Indian administration. And one of the 4 public services happens to be the civil services. Okay, so this is one thing. Now, as far as the civil services is concerned, civil service is concerned, if we use a singular, then it consists of services such as Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, Indian Foreign Service, Indian Revenue Service, and besides these important services, other 16 to 17 civil services. So if we take all of them together, then the number goes up to 20 to 22 civil services. So to summarize the first point, civil services happens to be an integral part of a bigger machinery called as Indian public administration, bureaucracy. And civil services consists of, including all these services, 20 to 22 services. Now, what is the role of the civil service? Why is it that this public service, which is known as civil service, is known as civil service? What is civil in the civil service? So we have come up with a very brief, short explanation of the same. The responsibility of taking care of the civic affairs. Let us underline that, which is a very important, rather the core aspect, element of the civil service. So what is the responsibility of the civil services? So civil service as a public service is given the responsibility of taking care of the civic affairs. Okay. And civic administration. So the word civic is very important, which includes, there are three aspects of that. So one is the revenue. The second one is the law and order. And the third one, broadly, the developmental. Okay. So what does the civic affairs, civic administration exactly consist of? So one is the revenue, the second is the law and order, and the third is the developmental function. So these are the three core responsibilities, three aspects of the civic responsibilities which are given to the civil service. Okay, therefore, the name of this public service is civic. Civil. Civil is the appropriate word. Now, if you look at the second point, implementing the laws and policies. Now, this is a quite obvious and explicit dimension of the responsibility or role which is given to the civil service. What is that? Implementation, execution of what? The laws made by our parliament and policies formulated by our government. So implementation. So this is the second important aspect of the responsibility. And the third one, which is equally important, to advise to whom? The ministers. Okay. And then to give input in both law as well as policy making. Okay. So this is the second important aspect of the role. So here we identified implementation, execution of laws and policies. But the subsequent aspect of responsibility of civil service, the role of civil service, is also equally important. Someone may even go to the extent of arguing that this is more important because here a civil servant, civil service taken together, advises the ministers, okay, that is the government, members of the government, and give input to the process of, in the process of something called as the making of law and making of policy. So if we take all these 3 points together, then we would be better placed to get hold of the exact responsibility of the civil service. So let us summarize it. Civil service as a public service is charged with something called as taking care of the affairs of the civic administration, which includes the revenue, okay, then the law and order and the developmental function. The same can be understood in the form of implementational role, executional role on one hand, and also advising one's own ministers and giving important input to the process of law and policy formulation. But here, this role is generally played by, undertaken by the senior bureaucrats, that is the senior civil servants. We have to always keep in mind that. Now, let us take it forward. Now, the significance of the civil service. I think if we get hold of in a better manner, the role and responsibility of the civil service, based on that, we can well be in a position to understand the significance of the civil service. So what is the significance of civil service? Civil service contributes to the development of our nation immensely. Okay, so developmental process is the core of the responsibility of the civil service, number one. And number two, to be very specific, it can impact our society positively and lives of millions of people, and especially, this is very important, the vulnerable sections, the needy sections of our society. be it scheduled caste, be it scheduled tribe, be it children, be it women, so on and so forth. Okay, so it has the potential of intervening positively, constructively in our society in general, but particularly those sections which are usually known as vulnerable sections, neglected sections, peripheralized sections. So if we take both of them together, civil service holds the potential of contributing to something called as the developmental process of a nation, that is our nation, our society, and especially, okay, if we focus specifically on that particular aspect, this is changing, and it holds the potential of changing the lives of vulnerable sections of our society. Therefore, civil service enjoys a lot of significance. That is how we can make sense of. Now take it forward. Now our constitution makers were very well aware of the significance of public administration and public bureaucracy in general and civil services as part of the Indian public administration. So a lot was going to depend upon the functioning of the role actually played by the civil service. So in a sense, we can say that success or failure of a government to great extent depends upon the actual role played by the civil service. The laws are formulated by the parliament, policies are formulated by our government, that is the political executive. However, even if these laws and policies are well formulated, but the outcome of the law and policy ultimately depends upon the manner in which the law and policy is executed. So here, the process of implementation, process of execution acquires critical significance or importance. And since civil service is integrally connected with the process of implementation, that is implementing laws and policies, we can well gauge the kind of significance the civil services enjoys in Indian political setup. Now, since constitution makers were very well aware of the critical significance or importance of the civil services, what they did through our constitution is to provide for this constitutional body which is known as UPSC, that is the Union Public Service Commission. So it is a constitutional body, all of you must be well aware of that, which conducts not only a couple of examinations but various examinations. And one of the prominent examinations, one of the multiple examinations conducted by UPSC happens to be the civil services examination. Okay, so obviously this examination is conducted every year by UPSC in order to select candidate, qualified candidate as civil servant. Now similarly, we have in state of Maharashtra, for state of Maharashtra, a similar constitutional autonomous body called as MPSC, that is the Maharashtra Public Service Commission. So this constitutional body, like UPSC, is also assigned the task of conducting various examinations in order to recruit the public officials. And one of the important component of public officials happens to be the state civil administration. Now deputy collector, tehsildar, DYSP, so on and so forth. So these are the civil service posts which are recruited by the examination known as the state civil services. Okay, so we have UPSC as the constitutional body or commission, and similarly in every state, almost in every state, for every state, we have State Public Service Commission, and since we are talking about Maharashtra, so it is Maharashtra Public Service Commission. So now if you look at the significance of these commissions, be it UPSC or MPSC or any other state commission, they are tasked with selecting qualified candidates transparently, honestly, okay, without any corrupt practices. And therefore, our constitution makers provided for the formation of establishment of these constitutional bodies, which are respectively known as UPSC on one hand and the MPSC on the other hand. Now, civil services examination. As I stated earlier, these commissions conduct various examinations, and one of the important examination happens to be civil services examination. Now, this examination, and we are going to be very brief as far as getting to know the structure and the pattern of the examination is concerned. the very first stage, which is also known as a screening test, okay, but the official name is the prelims. Now it is for 400 marks. Now in which we have, two papers. So the first paper is known as GS1, in which we have 100 questions. So this is GS1. Then we have GS2, but it is also known as Civil Services Aptitude Test, CSAT. Here we have less number of questions, 80 into 2.5, okay, is equal to 200. So this makes prelims the first stage of the civil services examination, which carries the weightage of 400 marks. Okay, now one thing. The second one, as far as the prelims is concerned, of the two papers, so GS and the CSAT happens to be just a qualifying paper, which means out of 200, you have to secure 33% marks. Yani ki 66.66, we can make a round figure, 67 marks out of 200. So this is just a qualifying paper. Then what happens once you qualify in the CSAT, then ultimately whether you are going to get through the prelims or not depends upon the score you secure, okay, in the GS paper. So as far as the prelims is concerned, A, you have to qualify in the CSAT paper by securing 67 marks. I am making a round figure. And then subsequently, you have to target achieving more number of marks as far as safe score as far as the GS1 is concerned. Okay. Number 2. Number 3, the last point as far as the prelims is concerned. What is the nature of the preliminary examination? So there are 4 keywords. Prelims basically is an objective kind of examination. Okay. Then it is based on multiple choice questions, MCQs. It has got negative marking system. For every wrong answer, you are going to get penalty. Okay, so it has got negative marking system. And basically, prelims is a qualifying test. So it is objective in nature. It has got MCQ pattern, negative marking system, and qualifying. So unless and until you qualify in prelims, you are not going to get the chance to write the means examination. Okay, so this is the broad outline of the preliminary examination as far as the civil services examination is concerned. So we have got 2 papers. The CSAT is qualifying. Okay, then ultimately whether you succeed in the prelims, yani ki get through the prelims or not, depends upon the score you secure in GS. And what is the nature of preliminary examination? Objective, MCQs, based on MCQs, it has got negative marking system and it is qualifying in nature. Okay, now let us take it forward. Now, once you get through the prelims, then you can write the mains examination, then and then only. Okay. Now, what is the outline of the mains examination? Now, in mains, we have GS, we have optional, and then we have, I'll write here, we have essay. Let us use the numericals. Okay. Now in GS we have 4 papers and each paper has the similar weightage of 250 marks. So taken together, GS is for 100 marks. So GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4. Okay. So 4 GS papers. Then you have to choose one optional, which is for 500 marks. And this optional is split into 2 papers. For example, if you have political science paper 1, 250 marks, and political science paper 2, 250 marks. So 500 marks. Okay. And then you have the third component in the mains examination, that is the essay paper, an independent essay paper, wherein you have to write essays on 2 subjects, 2 topics, each carrying the weightage of, again, the similar weightage of 125 marks, taken together 250. So 1000 for GS, 500 for optional, and 250 for the essay paper. Now, besides these three components, the UPSC and MPSC mains examination have two more papers. And these two more papers are known as language papers. And as far as the UPSC is concerned, in UPSC A, that is the first one, the Indian language paper, and the second one is the compulsory English. Okay. And as far as the MPSC is concerned, in MPSC we have compulsory English as one language paper, but the second language paper that you have to choose invariably while writing MPSC is the Marathi. Okay. So that's the only difference. Number one. Number two, these two language papers have the weightage, yani ki carries the weightage of similar weightage of 300 marks. Number two. Number three, so for English 300 marks, Indian language papers, if you are talking about UPSC, 300 marks. If you are talking about MPSC, again compulsory English for 300 marks and Marathi for 300 marks. So two language papers carrying the similar weightage of 300 marks. Okay. Now, both the language papers in UPSC as well as MPSC are qualifying in nature, which means you have to secure in each paper 25% marks. So out of 300, say for example in English, in order to qualify in that paper, you have to secure 75 marks out of 300. And similarly, Indian language papers in UPSC, you have to secure 25 marks, means 25% marks means 75 out of 300. And same applies to MPSC language papers. Okay. Being qualified, whatever score you secure in these language papers, this is not counted in the mains examination. So, taken together, the civil services examination, that is the mains examination, happens to be of this is the weightage. Okay. So, 1750. 1000 GS, 500 optional and 250 essay. Now, what is the nature of the mains examination? The mains examination, the entire mains examination is written in nature. And I'll get back to that. Written ka matlab ye hai, you have to read the question and then answer that question in a descriptive manner. You have to write it down. For 10 marks, you have to answer the question in about 150 words. For 15 marks, you have to answer the question in about 250 words. So word limit is a very important feature of the mains examination. So basically it is a written examination wherein you are supposed to answer questions for different marks. 10 marker questions, 15 marker questions, 20 marker questions, or essay sabse bada hai. One essay carries the weightage of 125 marks. So we have got two essays. In this essay paper, 250 hai. Okay. So, weightage in terms of marks, word limit, which is equally important. And therefore, this written format makes civil services mains examination a challenging examination. I'll get back to that later on. Okay. So, this is all about as far as the mains examination is concerned. Now remains the third phase of the civil services examination, and that is the personality test, which is popularly known as the interview. Okay, personality test, which is popularly known as interview, which is for 275 marks. Now, those students who write prelims get through prelims, subsequently write mains, and those who get through mains, they are invited by the UPSC, called upon by the UPSC in Delhi, Dhulpur House, to appear for the personality test, and the weightage is 275 marks. So this is the last stage, third phase, so to say, as far as the civil services examination is concerned. Now, what is the nature of this personality test? It is oral examination, quite explicit, in which the suitability of a candidate is obviously verified by whom? The UPSC interview panel of around 5 members. Now, this is the core of the personality test. So, what is done here to just make a primary sense of this test? The suitability of a candidate is verified here. But for what sake? The civil service. And a while ago, we looked into two very important aspects of the civil services. So, one is what is the responsibility, the civic affairs and civic administration. One, the revenue, the second the law and order, and the third is the developmental role. We understood the same thing in the form of the second point, that is implementation of laws and policies. And also we looked into another important aspect of the role, responsibility of the civil service, that is advising the ministers and thereby contributing to making of laws and policies. So the suitability is reviewed, is scrutinized, is assessed for which post, for what purpose? To select you in order to recruit you as a civil servant. And therefore, knowing responsibility, the role and significance of civil services in general is very, very important. Okay, which has got 275 marks. So thus, this is the broad outline of the civil services examination. So 3 stages, and each stage is designed in a very different manner. The UPSC has prescribed the syllabus for both prelims as well as mains, detailed syllabus undoubtedly. The pattern is also prescribed by the UPSC. And as far as the third test is concerned, that is the third stage personality test, per se, it does not have any formally prescribed syllabus. Okay, so that's it as far as the outline of the examination is concerned. Now, we enter into a very important aspect of today's discussion. Preparing for the civil services examination. Now, for any purpose, whether you decide to write the civil services examination or any other examination, what we are initially supposed to do is to go for primary steps. Okay. Now, what are the primary steps as far as a beginner is supposed to take up? And here we have outlined very clearly, explicitly those primary steps. Number 1, understanding the nature of each stage. So, what is the prelims? We just briefly discussed that. Then the mains examination. Okay. And then the interview. Okay. Now, we know for sure the 3 stages at least in a primary sense. But to get hold of each stage of the same, the second important step to be undertaken by you is this one. What is that? Comprehending the syllabus very, very carefully. And as I stated earlier, UPSC as well as MPSC have given us syllabus for prelims examination, though it is outlined briefly, given briefly. But as far as the main syllabus is concerned, both commissions have provided for prescribed syllabus for mains examination in detail. Okay. So comprehending syllabus means reading the syllabus 2 times, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times. You can also make it a point to write it down so that you can get hold of the scope of the syllabus, all the chapters which are part of the syllabus. Then each and every chapter may in turn consist of subtopics, sub-elements, so on and so forth. So read it 3 times, 4 times. It would definitely help you in better comprehending, understanding the syllabus per se. And then importantly, this is a very critical stage, even if it is a primary stage, it is very, very important stage as far as the beginning of the preparation for civil services examination is concerned. And what is that? Analyzing, if we want to use the short form, analyzing the PYQs, previous year question papers. Okay. Now, as far as the prelims is concerned, the existing pattern of UPSC was introduced in 2011. And as far as the mains UPSC is concerned, the existing pattern was introduced, that is adopted in 2013. So as far as UPSC prelims PYQs are concerned, okay, you can get back to 2011. So PYQ analysis, for example, prelims from 2011 to 2025. You can even add 26, which is scheduled in the month of May. Then you have MPSC. Okay, so roughly you can say for prelims 2012 to 2025. And as far as the mains is concerned, so this is prelims. So similarly, you can take up the same exercise. So for UPSC, as far as the mains is concerned, you can well start from 2013 to 2026. Ab 6 ka to hua nahi hai. You can say 25. And as far as the new MPSC is concerned, so MPSC introduced a different pattern for the mains examination. I am sure most of you must be well aware of the fact. Okay, so you are supposed to look into that as well. Okay, and the MPSC mains examination as per the new pattern is still going on. Okay, so you can check out 2025 mains papers of essay, then all GS4 papers, and then subsequently the optional as far as the MPSC mains examination is concerned. Okay, now let us get into this a slightly detail. Now, what is mean by PYQs? What does the PYQ analysis exactly consist of? Number one, as I stated earlier, if you are supposed to look into, say for example, 10 years previous year question papers, then read those question papers year wise very carefully. Number one. Number two, you can once again start with reading the same PYQs but paper wise, GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4. Then what you can do, GS1. In GS1, you have both in MPSC as well as UPSC, you have 3 subjects in GS1. So you have history, you have geography, and you have Indian society. Now you can well start, as far as UPSC is concerned, start from 2013. Take up GS1, but not the entire GS1, but just pick history from GS1. 2013 से शुरू कीजिए and 25 तक जाइए. So history, that is the questions in GS1 on history from 2013 to 2025. Then you can split questions on history from GS1 into 4 sections which are part and parcel of the syllabus of the history. So you have Indian heritage and culture, number 1. Number 2, modern world history. Number 3, modern Indian history. And number 4, post-independent Indian history. So this is how you can go deeper, you can dig deeper as far as the process of reading question papers, that is the PYQs is concerned. So that, number 1, you can exactly get to know as to what kind of questions are asked by both UPSC as well as the MPSC. Knowing the nature of questions is very, very important. And that operates as a very important input so that you can plan your preparation, plan your reading, processing the material, and then directing your preparation to the needs of, okay, which would be conducive to the need and requirement of both the commissions, that is the civil services examination. Okay, so this is how the third phase, sort of a primary stage, but very important, is to read, to look into the PYQs, and they help you, assist you in, in better targeting one's own preparation. Okay, now let us take it forward. Now, after going through this preparatory stages, let us say, knowing each stage, then looking into the syllabus, and then PYQ analysis, what you are supposed to do is this. Now, this is something which is very, very important. Sorry for the technical glitch. So, 3 primary stages that we just talked of. 1, knowing each and every stage of the civil services examination, be it UPSC or MPSC. Number 2, looking into the syllabus, especially of the prelims examination and of the mains examination. And the third primary step that we talked of is looking into the PYQs. Popularly, it is known as PYQ analysis, but make it very simple. Read the previous year question papers thrice, maybe 4 times, very, very carefully. Okay. Now, after that, what becomes important in preparation for the civil services examination is these elements. Okay. These are very important elements, components, okay, of the process of preparation. One by one, let us look into that. Now, conceptual understanding is a backbone, is a foundation of this examination, for this examination. Now, be it history, geography, polity, economy, every subject has its set of fundamental concepts, terms, and terminologies. If a candidate is not well aware of and possesses the essential conceptual clarity, it becomes very difficult for the candidate to understand that subject. So therefore, the first important care is this, that you have to ensure conceptual clarity to the utmost level. And how are we supposed to do that? NCRTs. These are the textbooks, the CBSE syllabus. And these NCERT books help you in laying down a solid foundation, that is a conceptual foundation. Okay, आपको करना ही करना है. Now just for example, while reading constitution या Indian polity, you will come across the term constitution, the term sovereignty, the term secularism, the term parliamentary democracy, the term judicial review, the term judicial activism, the term rights, the term fundamental rights, so on and so forth. So same is the case of every other subject. In history, you have number of concepts. In economy, you have number of concepts, so on and so forth. Since concepts happen to be building blocks of each and every subject, you need to have, a candidate needs to have the conceptual clarity. Number one. Number two, while preparing for the civil services examination, both UPSC as well as MPSC, for each GS subject, you have to refer to, after going through the NCERT textbooks, you have to refer to something called as at least one standard reference book. For example, modern Indian history, Bipan Chandra's reference book is quite famous and popular, India's Struggle for Independence. Okay. Then for Indian Constitution, usually it is M. Lakshmikant, but it is not so useful as far as the UPSC mains is concerned. Lakshmikant is useful primarily for the preliminary examination. Okay. So this is how for each and every GS subject, so history, economy, constitution, polity, then science and technology, geography, Indian society, so on and so forth, including ethics, obviously, you have to go through, okay, at least one standard reference book. So that is the second one. Now, reference books are those books which aim at covering the entire syllabus of the given subject. So these reference books are quite bulky, maybe of 500 to 700 pages, full of information, factual stuff, okay, maybe current and contemporary development. So you have to process standard reference books very, very carefully, because it is through the standard reference books that you can get hold of the subject, only through the standard reference book. Okay. Then besides the conceptual and the core part of each and every subject to be consolidated through reference book, standard reference book, what else are you supposed to pay attention to is the current and contemporary events. And these competitive examinations, that is the civil services examinations, are very well known for the component of the current and contemporary events at global level, at national level, at state level. Okay. All major developments, current developments, contemporary developments need to be prepared thoroughly, but not only in terms of getting to know the factual stuff, the informative stuff of the given event, but also the issues involved. And therefore, while preparing any current or contemporary event, you have to look into the factual aspect of that, informative aspect of that, number one. Number two, you have to also look into the analytical aspect of the same event or development. Okay. Factual चीजें करने से काफी नहीं होने वाला है, आपको बाकी भी करना पड़ेगा. Okay. Number three, which is very important therefore, micro notes या short notes. Especially when it comes to preparation for, if you are preparing for the mains examination, micro notes or short notes are compulsory. They are must. Because you have 4 GS papers. In turn, every GS paper contains 2 subjects, 3 subjects, okay, for which you have to go through NCERT books, at least one standard reference book, so on and so forth. And also you have to look into the current and contemporary events and some material for the same. Now, reading this material once or twice is not going to be sufficient. You will have to read this material, the study material, again and again. But you cannot get back to the same material and reference book as in the original form. So therefore, you have to process every material that you are going to read for the examination and for every subject. So processing becomes important, and it is only through systematic processing of each and every element of the reference book that you can come up with very sharp and precise short notes. Okay, so this is a very important component as far as the preparation is concerned. Then, as far as this process of preparation is concerned, we have got one more element, and which is critically important, that is the revision. If you are very effective here in processing the material, study material and all notes and come up with very sharp and precisely formulated notes, then this process would become comparatively much easier. Revision, because you know for sure that look, this is the core of each and every chapter, yeah, so and so chapter, and I have drawn that core from the given chapter out, set it out, and I'm going to revise that. Not the entire original book, but something which is taken from that original book in the form of the micro notes or the short notes. Okay. And then comes the ultimate stage. And here we have means examination in our mind, answer writing. So UPSC means examination as well as MPSC means examination happen to be written in character. So you have to write answers. So the pattern is descriptive in nature for a given number of mark, following a word limit prescribed by the commission, so on and so forth. So answer writing becomes important, essential element of the process of preparation. Okay. Now let us take it forward. What kind of skills are needed? Okay. Now I have just focused on one set of skills, that is academic, loosely speaking, very generally speaking, the academic skills. Now what are those? So this is a very explicitly known fact, that reading and comprehending. So reading something and getting to know the textual meaning of that, but then to be able to make sense of between the lines, to be able to make sense of the implied meaning, so on and so forth. So comprehension, हमें रटना नहीं है, rote learning उसके लिए जरूरी नहीं है. हाँ, facts के लिए, information के लिए आप वो कर सकते हो, but comprehension का मतलब to be able to make exact sense of what the position, the mindset, the rationale of the writer. क्या है वो? खाली textual understanding से काम नहीं चलने वाला है. Okay. So to understand whatever you are going to read, to analyze. So the ability to analyze something. So analysis as a process consists of dissecting, यानी कि breaking it down. So you take a packet, you break it down into its essential parts, and then after breaking down, what you subsequently do in the process of analysis is to set out those elements which are causes, and subsequently to set out other remaining elements from that packet which happen to be the consequence of that. So या effect भी आप कह सकते हो उसको, consequence, outcome या effect. So analysis as a process, simply speaking, involves या contains establishing cause-effect relationship. यानी कि you have to read the stuff, the study material very carefully, reflectively, and then you have to involve into the process of dissecting something. So बार बार पढ़ने से ही होगा, otherwise वो नहीं होगा. Okay. So to analyze, and then if we are thorough about here in understanding as well as analyzing things, that is the study material, then you would be in a better position to prescribe. Because let us not forget the fact that you would be writing this examination in order to get selected, get qualified for civil services. And civil services, civil servant typically as a public servant is supposed to be aware of the reality of one's own society, the issues, the problems and challenges on one hand, but second, on the other hand, he in capacity of a civil servant is also expected to suggest something. So therefore the ability to prescribe, यानी कि suggesting solution, suggesting way out, this ability is scrutinized, cross-checked even through this examination. And therefore interview especially and the mains examination, these two stages are very, very important as far as the assessment of the ability to prescribe is concerned. And thus we get to something called as the critical thinking. आप पढ़ने तो बहुत सारा हो, पढ़ने वाले तो बहुत सारा हो. So you are going to read NCERT, one standard reference book, newspapers, so on and so forth, study material, class notes, etc., etc. But again, I'll repeat it. This examination is not known for the rote learning. You have to read very carefully. You have to read again and again, but in a reflective manner, not to mug things up, but to think about in a deeper manner, in a reflective manner, and get hold of the exact gist of the argument. So this is how we have to develop critical thinking ability. Now what is mean by that? Let us try to make it as simple as possible. Critical thinking का मतलब क्या है? While reading something, whenever you come across some stuff, let us not take it for granted. Okay, आपने पढ़ा है उसका मतलब वो सही है ऐसा मानना ही नहीं है हमें. करना क्या है फिर? You read it carefully and then you make it a point to cross check it, to examine it. Is it so? Cross check that. And then if you come to know that yes, it is so and so because of so and so reasons and factors, then try to find out the evidence for that. So this is how, by not taking anything for granted, what you are supposed to do here as part of the critical thinking ability is to keep on asking questions and getting to know the answer to those questions. That is, simply speaking, critical thinking ability. Effective writing. Now, mains examination, whether it is the UPSC Civil Services examination or the new MPSC Civil Services examination, both carries the similar weightage of 1,750 marks. That is a 1,750 marks mains examination. And mains examination is written and descriptive in character. So therefore, when it comes to mains examination, if you want to secure a good score, excellent score, then besides getting hold of the entire syllabus, all papers, understanding, gaining knowledge of each and every stuff of the syllabus, what else becomes important, and that too critically, is the ability to write effectively. So effective writing skill. तो आपको पढ़ना भी है, प्रोसेस भी करना है, माइक्रो नोट्स निकालना है, and then you have to write it effectively. Okay. So अच्छा पढ़ने से the habit of good reading, consistent reading, processing material very sharply, making micro notes, revising those notes, and then practicing writing answers. All these are part and parcel of developing this ability called as the effective writing ability. And then comes the next subsequent skill, that is the communication skill. And this skill becomes important for the, and this is quite obvious, for the last stage, that is the interview era personality test. Okay, which has the weightage of 275 marks. Okay, now let us take it forward. This is the last one. Okay, now the unique way. Right in the beginning, I did refer to one of the very important initiatives taken up by Unique Academy every year. And we are going to start this year from 4th of May, okay, 2026. That is the next month. Now, what is the unique approach? What is the unique way that we are known for as far as that one-year integrated course is concerned? An elaborate teaching program for all three stages. So we start off with the mains examination, and the course takes care of the mains examination, and a slot of 7 months is dedicated for the mains examination. Then the subsequent 4 to 5 months are exclusively utilized for the preliminary examination. So you subsequently write prelims, qualify in prelims, write mains, and after your mains, we take up the third part of the program, and that is the mock interview program. So thus, our one-year integrated batch, your course, is known for an elaborate teaching program which caters to each and every stage, taken together all three stages. We begin with mains preparation, followed by the prelims preparation, and once you write the mains, then we take up the third important aspect of the program, that is the mock interviews and the other stuff. We at Unique Academy have a team of more than 20 experienced teachers and faculty members, and that is a very important element, rather the salient features of the Unique Academy. They are quite experienced. They have experience of about 15 to 20 years of teaching their own subject. Okay, so therefore that's the another one. The third one, now this examination is quite vast as far as the scope is concerned, and therefore relevant, precise study material plays a very significant part, and we provide that. And this study material contains the study material catering the static part of the subject or the examination, as well as the current and contemporary part of the same. Subsequently, as we have been referring to that, when it comes to the mains examination, your understanding is one part, but to be able to put across that understanding to meet the requirement of the question, what you require here is the effective writing skill. And as part of 1 year integrated batch, we focus on improving both the skills. So one is the writing skill and the other is the communication skill, which is part of the mock interview program. Now, in order to prepare students to better approach prelims as well as the mains examination and obviously the personality test, what we do here is the rigorous test series. And our institution is known for that. You can check out our YouTube channels and get to know the way and manner in which the mains test paper are assessed. You can look into that. Also, you can watch the videos of our this year's topper as far as the mock interviews are concerned. So be it prelims, be it mains or be it interview, we expose our students to different kinds of tests. Okay. Last but not the least, this is a unique feature of the Unique Academy. We believe in something called this, the individual guidance and mentorship. Now, there is a framework. There are certain rules of thumb which apply to each and every student. There is no doubt about that. So that would be a very general framework. However, we believe that each and every candidate, each and every individual is peculiar in his her own way. And that peculiarity is sought to be understood well, and keeping in mind the particular background of the student, socioeconomic background, as well as importantly the academic background, the educational background. What our faculty members aim at here is to cater to that particular peculiar need of each and every candidate. So therefore, we encourage every student to interact with each and every faculty, share one's own doubts, not only academic doubts, even the non-academic doubts. Okay. And thereby we ensure that every student, okay, is mentored. So this is how, these are the important elements of the unique way. And that is how the Unique Academy has been providing guidance, helping out students so that they are better equipped to write prelims, mains, and face very confidently the last stage, that is the personality test. Thank you, students.